Welcome back to more Bugs Bunny's Crazy Castle 4, where we are starting World 11. In World 11, there are a lot of paths that are blocked off, and the only way to navigate through these paths is to go through these back doors. And with these doors, you have a different section where you have to make it across and get to another one of those yellow doors. And that's really the best way to get around in this place. And in World 11, they also really turn up the heat in terms of difficulty. I mean, the ice basement was when the game started getting a little bit harder, but right here is when this game starts getting legitimately tough. And one of the reasons that does make it a lot tougher is that they do turn up a lot of enemies, and just like the first game and the second game, you have much narrower spaces to work in. So you actually have to rely on skill to get out of the way of these enemies. And I see some of my skill actually carried over from the first and second Let's Plays. So let's just, I have to be careful to navigate around all these foxes. And that's really the best thing you can do is get them bunched together. And then when they all start following you the same way, they're at least easier to avoid. I mean, fortunately, they're not going to gang up on you as easily, as long as you keep them all in the same spot. And the keys in this first level are actually pretty self-explanatory. You just go through some of the more isolated doors in order to get to them. And usually you are going to have to go through a yellow door or yellow gate or whatever you want to call it to get to a key. And sometimes that's the case, and then other times they're hidden behind our enemies or blocking them, like that Yosemite Sam was earlier. So, this is the one part where there are going to be a lot of pipes, and these pipes are going to be very confusing, to tell you the truth. It is important that you use the pause function to make sure you know where each and every one is going, because in these early stages it is pretty easy to have a pipe mislead you somewhere, and then you end up either running into an enemy or getting put into a bad spot where you can end up getting hit several times. Now, the reason I didn't pause, I did pause earlier to make sure nothing else was there, but the reason you do want to use that is because you just don't want to get yourself in trouble. Also, they really did turn up the number of enemies blocking your progress, I guess is the way to put it. And I am going to leave that balloon bomb there, even though I don't actually think that ghost runs into it anytime soon. But that's just planting seeds for the future, I guess. And right here, the doors are going to be really easy to get to, so you don't really have to worry about doors as much as you do enemies early on. And I'm pretty sure they were expecting you to get hit in the early part, so that's why that health was there. But later on in this world, the levels are going to get a lot bigger, just like the game in general. And that was me going up to a trap one where it turns out there was nothing else there except for that one yellow gate. But as I was saying earlier, this is where the game just decides to start throwing you off a lot more, and you do have to use these yellow gates to get to keys. And there is actually going to be quite a bit of backtracking in this place, and once you notice these abrupt cuts, that's usually just me cutting out backtracking and whatnot. So let's just dispose of you. And something else that does make this place a little bit trickier is that a lot of the places are only going to have one way to get to them, or a lot of the doors that have keys in them. There is really only one right way to get there, and usually it's going to involve like weaving through enemies and then going through different sections. And here I didn't anticipate the fox dropping down like that. I mean, usually he doesn't. It's a good thing I do have another balloon, so I'll just use that on him. So now I actually have to dodge this guy. But either way, what you have to do is just backtrack to the gate and then get to the exit. And you are going to end up getting confused quite a bit between which gate goes where. And that's just really something just like the teleporters in the previous section where you have to just use trial and error to make sure you know where each and every one's going, because as I've said before, it is very easy to put yourself in a tough spot. And the door dodging is something that's going to be really essential in this world. And you don't really need it. You didn't really need it as much in the other ones. Just make sure you don't go too early and almost get yourself hit like I just did right there. But either way, they reintroduced bringing back or the gimmick of having 1 carrot. But that is actually something that is going to go to my favor pretty soon. And what I'm doing here is I'm just going to wait for the fox to go here and then take the pipe up. That actually just transports me a few yards to the left. So at least I can get the jump on him. And since you do have bells to drop on enemies, it is really important that you use those the right way. Just because you really don't want to have any unnecessary enemies out there. And this is the section I was talking, this is the stage I was talking about where it's really easy to get thrown off by where the pipes are going. So it is important that you either use trial and error or use the pause function to look where each and every one's going. But yeah, I actually did find this world to be a lot more fun than World 10 when I was recording it. I mean, even though the game's getting harder, it's also getting more fun in my opinion. But I mean, I'll have to hold my opinion for the end of the world or the end of World 11. And just getting to a new world is also refreshing because you or at least get able to talk about new stuff, and you're able to talk about like what things this section does, or what things this world does compared to previous levels. And it's also a lot of fun to talk about this one in particular, just because the gates are gonna present a different challenge. And what I did wrong there was I forgot to get a door that actually had a key in it, so you're actually gonna see me backtrack over there at some point and make sure I get that key back. And I actually do end up getting lost here too. It is pretty easy to get lost because some of the places you do have to depend on the gates, and then the other ones you don't really, or it's pretty easy to get thrown off from those. Because there are some places you think, okay, I have to get to a gate, so I don't know which one to take, and then sometimes you take the wrong one and you just end up putting yourself in a tough spot. And some of the gates do connect, and really the way you can tell like if they're connected or not is if they're close together, and then if they're not close together, it's pretty easy to find out that some of them aren't connected. And then there are also going to be ones later on where some of them are far away but are connected, and it's just really random like that. I mean, I really wouldn't call it random. I think it's just something you won't really know unless you use it. And they also brought back invincibility, so that was nice of them. So right here, let's just take out Yosemite Sam and take out another fox. And unfortunately, the door dodging thing worked against me on that instance, where somehow I ended up missing the fox, but then ended up coming back for him. And I think right here is where I end up getting lost and realize I have to... Or I mean, I just went to the left to see if there was anything there, and turns out it wasn't. So I didn't really get lost, I just decided to cut out some unnecessary movement. And I think this section is actually where the gates start getting a little bit more confusing. So I think all I'm doing here is just cleaning up the rest of this area. And that was just more of me getting lost. And what makes this section in particular pretty tricky is that there are going to be enemies on you and then you do have to use different tactics to get out of the way, and also usually it ends up using a pipe or a ladder in order to avoid the enemies and whatnot. And here I'm in for a little bit of a short backtrack, and this is one thing that actually kind of scared me when I realized that enemies respawn in the gates. So it's really easy to waste a lot of weapons when you're going through the gates because the enemies just respawn. And that was just me forgetting about the key that I missed earlier. So what I have to do here is use the doors and then use the ladder. And that section was one gate I actually didn't go to earlier. So it turns out what I had to do is use that gate and then go to this section and then take the pipe down. And right here is where the last key is going to be. And it's pretty conveniently close to the exit, which is definitely an improvement from the last stage. So now that's done with, let's just wait for Yosemite Sam to move his ass and then take him out and get to the exit. So for the last stage for today. And this stage also starts off pretty fast with a coyote chasing you. And there's our first big treasure chest of the world. And the good news is about these coyotes chasing you, you can use the pipes against them. And that's if you lure them into a pipe and then end up creating some space between you and the coyote, just in case you need it. And here I'm doing a pretty bad job of figuring out which are the fake treasure chests and which aren't. And I think, as I've said before, I think all you have to do is just wait a little bit because the fake ones are going to start moving. But I'm just being old impatient, and for the sake of like streamlining everything, I really didn't want to do that for everyone. Even though I really should have, based on the way I was doing this. But here I just need to do something about that coyote. Now here's where it's really easy to run into trouble because there are other coyotes up here. And I think this is just one that's going to give you a weapon. Yeah, see, right here is where it's easy to run into trouble. So what I have to do is use the pipes. And let's just take one out while we can. So now that that's done with, I can use the doors to get back up. So let's just go ahead and keep moving on to where we were earlier. And here's another place where the pipes can actually throw you off if you're not careful. So that's one way they are turning up the difficulty. But it turns out I actually needed to go to the left because there was something I forgot. And it turns out that something was a key. So what I had to do is backtrack up. Fortunately, it's not that tough a backtrack except when a coyote gets in your way. And as far as this gate goes, there's different ways you can use the gates to your advantage here. And just in case you do end up getting in trouble, you can actually use a gate to escape, and then wait for some time, and then go back in through that gate. The problem is, it is actually really easy to land on top of an enemy when you get out of a gate. I know that happened to me several times during the practice runs before recording this. And that is definitely something that makes this world a lot tougher. I mean, actually, out of all the gimmicks they introduced so far, I'd have to go with this one as my favorite one. Just because this is more my style of play. I mean, I do like the outrunning your enemies and actually using your wits to avoid them. While I felt like this game put a lot more emphasis on exploration, which honestly I don't really have a problem with. Except it's just something that does kind of wear on you over time, as you no doubt have noticed throughout this Let's Play. Anyway, now that I've gotten 10 carrots, let's just go ahead and take out as many enemies as I can. Now I'll start off with you guys. Then here I'm trying to look for more enemies, and now actually I guess I'm just going for the doors. So it's just sweep the area and get some more stuff. Yeah, here I wasn't sure which one to go to first. So now that that's done with, let's keep moving. Here you have to use one of the gates in order to keep progressing. This part's a little tricky because there's a Elmer Fudd and then you have to get around him. And then just like all the other ones, are just like Yosemite Sam, Elmer Fudd can shoot you. And getting back here is actually a lot, or getting back to the gate you need to go to is actually a lot tougher than going to the gate. You can use the pipe if you are feeling brave. But I find that the gate's actually a little bit simpler, since you do have that pipe. So let's just get some more stuff. So what I have to do here is just make sure I keep the coyotes at bay, and then the main thing I do have to do is just keep using different gates. And I think right here is where the exit is, so what I have to do is go back to that one, go down, and then to the right. And here's another instance where you can run into trouble with running into another enemy when you didn't need to. And right there's a coyote on my tail, so I better come prepared for him. And it turns out I do just that. So now that he's disposed of, let's just go ahead and get this last key. And I'm just gonna go ahead and get all the other stuff I missed. And there's just another weapon. So now that that's done with, let's just get over to the exit. Here I'm just trying to... Here, the coyote's not cooperating. But with that, I'll see you in the next part.